The lights of the ring barely reached his silhouette. He was small for a heavyweight, only 5 feet 7 inches, a body that seemed fragile next to the giants around him. But his eyes, steady, burning, left no doubt. Here was a man who accepted no limits. "I will defend my title against all comers, none barred. White, black, Mexican, Indian, or any other nationality," he once declared. In an age when prejudice dictated the rules, those words struck like thunder. Noah Brusso, the son of poor immigrants from rural Canada, had reinvented himself under a new name, Tommy Burns. And destiny would lead him to challenge not only bigger men, but history itself. This is the story of Tommy Burns, the little giant of Hanover. Hanover, Ontario, late 19th century. The cold pierced through the wooden walls of the Brusso family's small home. Noah was the 12th of 13 children, though not all would survive. 5 siblings died before reaching adulthood. Poverty marked every detail: worn-out boots, rationed food, hard work from an early age. The boy carried in his gaze the urgency of one who could not afford to dream. Between the fields and factories, he found an unlikely refuge: sports. First in lacrosse, where his speed drew attention, but soon in boxing, where his boldness defied fate. The ring was not just an escape, it was identity. Inside the ropes, the frail boy from Hanover became something greater. With each punch, he seemed to say, "I am not just one among 13. I am someone the world will hear." In Detroit, at the dawn of the 20th century, Noah took his first steps as a professional fighter. He still used his real name, but soon understood that to be remembered, he needed a symbol. He adopted the name that would echo across the world: Tommy Burns. Too small for the division, only 175 pounds against men towering above 200, Burns was seen as an underdog. But what he lacked in size, he made up for in courage, skill, and cunning. He marched into giants with short, sharp steps, blocked, countered, and tore down walls with bursts of speed. In 1906, in Los Angeles, his chance arrived: Marvin Hart for the heavyweight championship. The odds were cruel. Bookmakers said he wouldn't last 10 rounds. But 20 rounds later, Tommy raised his arms, the improbable champion. That little giant had defied logic and won. For nearly 3 years, Tommy Burns carried the belt across the globe. He defended it in London, Paris, Dublin, Melbourne, wherever challengers rose. 13 defenses, many against bigger rivals, always under the shadow of disbelief. Yet Burns never backed away. He truly wanted to be champion of all. Then came the name that would change history: Jack Johnson, a black man, brilliant, dangerous, yet shut out by all previous champions. Burns, true to his word, accepted. The bout took place in Sydney, 1908. But fate was merciless. Sickly and weakened, weighing much less than his rival, Burns was overwhelmed. His face swollen, his legs faltering. Johnson's punches fell like hammers. In the 14th round, the police stepped in. The belt slipped from his hands, and humiliation seemed heavier than pain. Tommy would never reclaim the title, but he won something that time could never erase: respect. Jack Johnson himself would later say Burns was the only white heavyweight who gave him a chance to prove his worth. That courage transformed defeat into legacy. In the years that followed, Burns fought on, promoted events, served in the Canadian Army as a physical instructor during the Great War, and even tried comebacks. But the glow had faded. The Great Depression wiped out his fortune. He worked as a guard, a salesman, until he found a new path, becoming an evangelical minister. His life, once forged in combat, now sought strength in faith. When he died in 1955, in Vancouver, only 4 people attended his funeral. The champion who once traveled the world, raising Canada's flag and defying prejudice, departed in silence. But his story endures, that of the small giant who dared to face all challengers, regardless of color, size, or origin. Picture the final scene: an empty ring, lit by a single lamp swinging from the ceiling. In the silence, the faint echo of crowds that once roared his name. Over the ropes rests a pair of worn gloves, carrying the weight of a lifetime of battles. Tommy Burns was the smallest of heavyweights, yet he carried a greatness that stretched beyond inches or pounds. He proved that courage has no measure, that dignity does not bow to prejudice, and that a man may lose a belt, but never his honor. Decades later, his story still whispers as a lesson: it is not the size of the body that defines the vastness of a champion, but the greatness of his heart.